So this is the second in about 4 or 5 episodes that I'm putting together on the last year I collected comic books, which was 1972. Stay tuned for this video. Anachronic. Hi comic book fans, I'm Joe and welcome again to Anachronic Comics. So as I mentioned, this is the second episode, and I think 5 of them that I'm going to have, where I am showing off books that I bought in 1972, which was the last year I really collected comic books. Yeah, I bought some after that, but this was the last year where I was really solidly into making sure that I buy comics. And I think I bought close to 70 of them up until about October, because in September I started a new job. In June, I graduated from college. My life was changing. So in the first episode, I showed off some Marvel superheroes like Captain America, Iron Man, Daredevil, etc. In today's episode, I'm going to show off DC superheroes. And a lot of the concentration you're going to see is going to be on Batman and Superman, because they were the ones that most of us liked. They were the two biggies. There. I know that Wonder Woman was part of the trilogy, but she just wasn't somebody that I was very much into in those days. So let's start it off. World's Finest is a book that I collected through the 60s, and I will have a Comics My Mom Let Me Keep episode on it at some point in time. But going into the 1970s, I still bought some of the books, and in 1972 I bought 2 of them. The first one is World's Finest number 211. And it was obviously, as was the case for most of the 1960s and the early 1970s, it was a team-up of Superman and Batman. This was from May of 1972. Okay? Now the next one, and I don't know offhand, and I didn't research it as to when the Superman-Batman team-up in World's Finest ended. But the next one was World's Finest number 213 from September of 1972, and it still had Superman, but no Batman. It was Superman and the Atom. And it looks like the Atom was stuck in telephone wires. He used to use telephone wires to transmit himself. So, kind of cool. So those are the only 2 I bought, May and September. Okay? Not sure why, except that maybe Batman dropped off or Superman dropped off and it wasn't the same comic book that I enjoyed seeing Batman and Superman teaming up. Alright, from that we move on to Batman. Alright, and I bought a lot of Batman and Detective Comics in those days. Not as much as Superman, but I did buy a bunch of it. And the first one is, let's see, Batman number 242, sorry. Batman number 242 from June of 1972. Alright, there you go. And this is a key, because it's the first appearance of Bruce Wayne as mob boss Matches Malone. I love the name, Matches Malone, alright? I wonder if Bruno knew him in the old days, right? So Matches Malone, Bruce Wayne going undercover in this particular comic book. Oh, and incidentally, I mean, these are pretty much, I think most of them anyway that you're going to see are going to be Neil Adams covers. Alright, the next one, also a key. Is it a key? Yeah, it is a key. Right, okay, I remember now. Yes, this is number 243 from August of 1972. A little bit of jujitsu or kung fu going on here. Alright, this is a key because it's the introduction of the Lazarus Pit, which is how Ra's al Ghul used to resurrect himself. So we've seen that used quite a bit, both in comic books now and in the animated stories and so forth. And I think even another, was it used in the Arrow too, right? On the CW. But this was the start of it all, the Lazarus Pit. Again, a Neil Adams cover. I do have one Detective Comics here. Detective Comics number 426 from August of 1972. It looks like Batman in this one is looking to commit suicide. Not a good story. Detective Comics number 426. And this is also when the Elongated Man was the second story in each one of these. All right, so the next one now, I'm keeping with a kind of a Batman theme, but it has my other fave, another fave of mine, Metamorpho, in it. It's Brave and the Bold, number 101, Batman and Metamorpho. Right there. Oops, there we go. Batman and Metamorpho. Cool, right? All right. Now we go on to another one, which is kind of an interesting book. I probably picked this up because it just looked unique to me, you know. And there are a few of these out here, but this is number 1. Wanted, the World's Most Dangerous Villains, number 1 from August of 1972. Okay. And it looks like it has a story, The Puppet Master and Green Lantern, Clock King and Green Arrow, and The Signal Man and Batman. So it's got some stories in here about 3 different heroes, and that always appealed to me. Okay, now we move over to Superman, but we start off with a Jimmy Olsen comic book. I used to read Jimmy Olsen now and then. Not something where I picked it up every month, but I guess if the cover and the story looked interesting to me, I might pick it up. And this is Jimmy Olsen number 151 from July of 1972. Those things have captured Superman. We must get help. Looks like you've got some large grasshoppers that have captured Superman. That's why these comics didn't last. I mean, some of the stories are just kind of hilarious. But he was Superman's pal, Jimmy Olsen. Then we go on to Superman. And the first one I have is number 245, 100-page spectacular from January of 1972. Right. And I picked up a lot of Superman during 1972. I think it was one of the staples of my collection where I would go and pick up Superman comic books. This 100-pager has, looks like it's got Brainiac, the Prankster, it's got the Atom Hawkman, Super Chief, and Airwave as helpers. Let me go get that glare out of there. There we go. On this, so cool book. Then we go on to number 249 from July. His latest greatest foe, Terra Man, and had a silver anniversary Superman story. Gonna have to take a look at this one and read it again. This was key. It was the first appearance of Terra Man and his horse, Nova. Okay. Next one I got is number 254 from July, where Superman is giving his superpowers to a young boy. 254 July. And the last Superman is number 255 from August, the Sun, S-U-N, of Superman. Looks like Old Soul is having making a difficult time of it for us humans here. Everything on Earth is flying off into space into that blazing sun, and there's nothing I can do about it. All right, move over from the Superman title to Action Comics. And we start off with Action Comics number 411 from April, where he apparently has some people that are looking to get into his Fortress of Solitude. There's also an Expresso story in here, and another story. There's like 3 stories in this. There's another story about a girl who was, I think, falling in love with Clark Kent. So that's Action Comics number 411 from April of 1972. Second Action Comics is number 414. I'm just looking at this. Actually, it's got... I've got to take this out and fix this cover. It's torn at the bottom. But we've got, again, Action Comics number 414. And in this one, it says, plus a new Metamorpho story. So for a while, Metamorpho was the second story in Action Comics. Cool. Now, Superman was not only my fave, but I used to read Superboy, the stories of Superman when he was a boy, right? And so here we have Superboy number 185 from May of 1962. It's a 100-page spectacular that reprints a number of stories. Okay, that's 185 from May. We have Superboy number 186. I'm sorry, that's 185 was from... Oh, they're both from May. And then we have 186, which is also May. So they came out with a 100-page spectacular and the regular issue of Superboy, where it's Mutiny of the Damned. It looks like they've got a bunch of people with kryptonite, and Superboy is in bad shape here. Then we've got Superboy number 188 from July of 1972. And this particular cover is one that's not unusual, where you've got Superboy pulling a car or a train or a boat. We've seen these before on the covers. Okay, so again, that's number 188 from July. And my last one, a suicide story, I guess, number 189 from August of 1972. And it looks like, at least from the cover, it looks like Jonathan Kent is not doing too well. All right. So, and you see many of these after August, September, October, no more books. So that's the second part, having to do with DC superheroes. Thanks for watching. And again, if you enjoy this type of video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't. And the next one might be one that'd be kind of interesting to you. It's going to have to do with the war comic books. And I'll talk a little bit about the 50s and 60s and how they came about. And here we're going to have a couple of Marvels, but mostly DC. So stay tuned for that. Take care, everyone. Be well, and I'll see you soon.